Cops harassed black woman for loitering, but they had no idea who she really was. The red and blue lights splashed across the wet pavement like spilled paint. Rain hissed against the sidewalk outside the 24-hour pharmacy on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in South Los Angeles. It was 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday in late November, the kind of cold that slips under your coat and sits on your chest. Two officers stepped out of their cruiser, flashlights cutting through the downpour. "Ma'am," the taller one called, voice already edged with suspicion, "you can't just be standing here. This isn't a bus stop." The woman didn't move. She stood beneath the pharmacy's flickering awning in a soaked navy peacoat 2 sizes too big, a knit cap pulled low, grocery bags at her feet. Her breath came out in soft clouds. She looked tired. Not the tired that comes from a long shift, but the kind that has been accumulating for decades. "I'm waiting on someone," she said, calm, almost gentle. "Waiting on who?" the second officer asked, younger, hand resting on his belt like it was a habit he hadn't decided to break yet. "It's 2 in the morning. Store's been closed an hour. Move along." She glanced at the patrol car's number, 412, and then back at them. "I'm not hurting anybody." "That's not the point," the tall one snapped. "This corner's been hot for prostitution and narcotics. You match the description we've been getting. Let's see some ID." A long silence. Rain drummed on the awning. Somewhere down the block a car alarm gave one half-hearted whoop and died. She reached slowly into her coat pocket. The officers tensed. She pulled out a worn leather wallet, opened it, and held it up so the flashlight beam caught the gold shield inside. Los Angeles Police Department. Rank: Captain. Name: Evelyn R. Carter. The younger officer's mouth actually opened. The taller one recovered first. "Captain Carter." "Ma'am, we didn't." "At ease," she said quietly. "Not angry. Just tired. You couldn't have known. Coats new, hats my nephew's. I don't usually walk this beat anymore." The rookie found his voice. We got calls about a woman loitering. Description matched. Dark coat, black female, 5'6", maybe 40. 53, she corrected softly. They stood there getting wet while the realization sank in. Captain Evelyn Carter was deputy commander of South Bureau Homicide. 28 years on the job. The first black woman to make captain in South Bureau. The officer who, 12 years earlier, had walked into an ambush on 77th and taken 2 rounds in the vest to drag her rookie partner out. The same captain whose photo hung in the lobby at the academy with the words, "Service above self," etched underneath. And tonight she was standing in the rain outside a closed pharmacy with 4 plastic bags of groceries and a cardboard box of fried chicken getting cold. The tall officer, name tape read Ramirez, cleared his throat. "Ma'am, is there something we can help you with?" She looked at him for a long moment, then down at the bags. "My car's in the shop," she said. "Bus stopped running an hour ago. My mother's inside that building." She nodded toward the boarded-up, 3-story apartment across the street, its windows glowing faintly behind security bars. "Stage 4 lung cancer. Oxygen ran out at midnight. Pharmacy delivery doesn't start till 6. She's got maybe an hour and a half, before it gets real bad." The officers looked at the building, then at the small portable oxygen tank in one of her bags, empty, the gauge flat against 0. "I was trying to keep her calm on the phone," Carter continued. "Told her I'd sit right here where she could see me from the window. She watches for the squad cars, says the lights make her feel safe." A small, sad smile. "Didn't expect one to stop for me." Ramirez swallowed hard. The rookie, Kowalski, was already moving. "Captain, we can run you to the right now. Or call med gas." "No point," she said. Won't fill private tanks after hours, and med gas won't come to this zip code this late." "I've tried." She picked up the chicken box. Brought her favorite from Rosie's. "Figured if tonight's the night, at least it smells like home." Silence again, heavier than the rain. Ramirez looked at Kowalski. Kowalski looked at the cruiser. Then at Carter. "Captain," Kowalski said, voice cracking just a little, "get in. Both of us are O positive. We'll get you there." Carter raised an eyebrow. Ramirez was already opening the back door. "We've got a sergeant at the academy who keeps an extra tank in his trunk for his dad. Lives 10 minutes away. We'll wake his ass up. Carter stared at them. Something shifted behind her eyes. Something ancient and exhausted that had stopped expecting anything from anybody a long time ago. You sure? She asked. Kowalski took 2 of the bags from her hands without asking. Yes, ma'am. They loaded her into the back of the cruiser like she was made of glass. Ramirez hit the lights. Not the full siren, just the wail muted low so it wouldn't scare Miss Lorraine up on the 3rd floor. Carter rolled the window down and waved toward the lit window. A frail hand appeared, waving back. As they pulled away from the curb, Carter leaned forward between the seats. Ramirez, she said, reading his name tape again. You got family, wife, 2 little girls. Kowalski, mom in Fresno. Dad passed last year. She nodded slowly. When this is over, whether it's tonight or next week, you 2 come find me at the bureau. We're gonna have coffee, and you're gonna tell your wives and your moms that sometimes the job gives some of it back. The sergeant with the spare tank met them in his driveway in slippers and a robe, cursing good-naturedly about rookies who can't read a clock. By 2:49 a.m. they were back at the apartment, Ramirez carrying the fresh tank like it was the World Cup. Carter led them up 3 flights of stairs that smelled like old grease and Lysol. Miss Lorraine was sitting up in a recliner by the window, oxygen mask already fogging with each breath, eyes bright when she saw her daughter walk in with 2 uniformed officers behind her. Evie, she rasped, voice like paper, you done brought the whole department for chicken. Carter knelt, hooked up the new tank, adjusted the flow. The hiss of clean oxygen filled the room. Something like that, Mama. Miss Lorraine looked at the officers, then at her daughter's wet eyes. Baby, she whispered, you still out there saving everybody but yourself. Carter rested her forehead against her mother's knee. Not tonight. Ramirez and Kowalski stood awkwardly near the door until Miss Lorraine beckoned them closer. Young men, she said, sit. Evie, don't let nobody eat cold chicken in my house. So they sat. 4 people in a cramped living room lit by 1 lamp and the glow of patrol lights still flashing silently outside the window. They passed around paper plates of Rosie's fried chicken and collards and cornbread that steamed in the cold air. Miss Lorraine told stories about Evelyn as a little girl following police cars on her bicycle, swearing she'd be chief one day. Evelyn told the officers about the time her mother marched in '92 with a toddler on her hip because somebody had to stand for something. At 4:12 a.m., Miss Lorraine fell asleep mid-sentence, oxygen steady, face peaceful for the first time in weeks. Carter walked the officers down to the street. Dawn was still hours away, but the rain had stopped. The city smelled clean for a minute. She shook their hands, proper, firm handshakes, the kind that say more than words. You did good tonight, she said. Ramirez shrugged, embarrassed. You remembered what the badge is supposed to mean, she cut in. Don't ever forget again. Kowalski hesitated. Captain, earlier, we were way out of line. Carter looked up at the lit window where her mother slept. No, she said softly. You were exactly where you were supposed to be. Sometimes the job looks like harassment until it gets the chance to look like humanity. She reached into her pocket, pulled out 2 business cards, wrote her personal cell on the back of each. Next time you're on this corner, she said, you slow down. You look up at that window. And you remember there's always somebody watching who still believes the lights mean help is coming. Then Captain Evelyn Carter, Deputy Commander, survivor of ambushes, legend in roll call, picked up her empty grocery bags, nodded once, and walked back up the stairs without looking behind her. Ramirez and Kowalski stood there a long time after she disappeared. Eventually Kowalski spoke, voice rough. We almost arrested a captain. Ramirez watched the 3rd floor light glow steady and sure. No, he said, we almost missed the chance to carry oxygen for an angel. They got back in the cruiser. Neither one turned the radio on for the rest of the shift. 3 weeks later, Miss Lorraine passed quietly in her sleep with Evelyn holding her hand and the hum of good oxygen in the background. At the funeral, half of South Bureau showed up in dress blues. Ramirez and Kowalski stood in the back, hats in hand, eyes red. Afterward, Captain Carter found them by the doors of the church. She hugged them both, hard, like family. Then she pinned something small in gold to each of their uniforms. Commendation bars. The kind that go on your chest and never come off. Engraved on the back of each. For remembering what the lights are for. Years from now, when people ask Ramirez, by then a sergeant himself, why he never wrote another loitering ticket on that corner, he'll just point to the faint scar on that little gold bar and say, because one night the city almost lost one of its best, and 2 cops got shown who she really was. And somewhere, on quiet nights when the rain falls soft and the lights flash red and blue across wet streets, Captain Evelyn Carter still walks her mother's block in an oversized coat, just to make sure the new kids remember too. Because some legends don't wear the uniform where you can see it. Sometimes they just stand under a broken awning at 2 a.m., waiting for help to arrive, never realizing they are the help the city has been waiting for all along.